Well, hello, folks. Thought I'd give you guys a quick little bye to January. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the last day of January here on January 31st, 2024. Here for episode 504 overall, and also I think the 12th of the year or 13th of the year. Since I trash these, 13th of the year. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another one of these in what is certain death. But actually, that's a little more dramatic. But so yeah, hello, everybody. So yeah, I've been busy playing. I've been busy playing that. So, just gonna shut it off real quick. I was playing Forza Motorsport, and I was also playing We Few Happy People. We Few Happy, or whatever it is. We Few Happy People. It's a weird post-war game that I picked up on Game Pass for nothing. So yeah, it's it's about 11:50 at night. I am working tomorrow at 10. Probably gonna want to get to work at 9:45, 9:30ish, 9:45. Watch me get there at like 10 minutes, 5 minutes to 10. Tomorrow I'm hoping to get there at 9:30, 9:45, so I can some time, have coffee and stuff like that. Actually be able to eat breakfast tomorrow. But yeah, guys, just some updates. I just wanted to talk about one thing. It's probably going to spill over into the next day, but bear with me. So I wanted to talk about, going to end off the first day of the new year with some bad news, and that is that Formula One has, just something I want to talk about. Formula One has rejected Andretti's bid to be into F1. So yeah, let that sink in for a second. Andretti, for those of you guys who don't know, Mike Andretti has been campaigning for the last like 3 years to get into Formula One, and they kind of need. F1 kind of gave them, some reasons, like, we don't think you'll be we don't think you're going to be competitive. We don't think you're going to be able to do this. There's a bunch of reasons why they're not letting them in, and I just wanted to say, give you that announcement. There's going to be a total media flood. There's plenty of reasons why they probably didn't do this, but I think one of them was, yeah, you do have a good track record of doing open wheel and stuff like that, but they gave them a number of pointers on why they didn't want to do it. Mario has been very vocal about the decision. For those of you guys who don't know, Mario Andretti actually used to race for Ferrari back in the late 60s, early 70s, after he ran with Ford for a little bit in the late 60s. Early 70s, he was mostly Ferrari. He was usually doing
sports car stuff, and then he was doing, and then after 1973, 1974, when Ferrari ended up getting out of that and getting into Formula One, he stayed with Ferrari a little bit, and then I think 74, 75, he ended up going over to Lotus and having success there. Actually winning one championship in the late 70s. So Andretti would have been a great. Andretti is a well-known name in the F1 paddock, and he's well known as a kind of an ambassador for the U.S. here for Formula One drivers, and a lot of people have sat there and said, "Oh, Mike Andretti, he's." Forget how many years Mario competed for various years, but so and stuff like that. You guys can go look him up. I don't have to tell you guys the history about him. He needs no introduction or needs any review because he's like one of the most legendary drivers of all time known to man. Whether you talk about NASCAR, the Indy 500, or sports cars, you'll know if you say the word Mario Andretti in Mario Andretti and Jackie X. If you mention any of those names, people are like, "Oh yeah, we remember him. He was the guy who won the world championships a bunch of times, or just won this and won that." And stuff like that. So a lot of people are like, "Oh yeah, the Andretti name, that should have been a shoe-in." Just because they would, and I think they were talking about, "Oh, you have an engine deal with Cadillac," and a lot of people are going to be sitting there like, "Oh yeah, so Ford, so we can't put Cadillac in there." I mean, a lot of people will sit there and go, "Well," a lot of people will sit there and go, "Oh, you can't put Chevrolet on there because it's not a big brand," and yada yada yada. And I think the only luxury brand name that has been in F1 is Mercedes and Alfa Romeo, of course, and Auto Union for those who followed the pre-war stuff, even though that was not really Grand Prix racing and stuff like that. So that was more grand. That was not Grand Prix racing. That was more World Championship racing, and the cars had 600 to 700 horsepower back in the mid to late 30s before they changed the 3-liter capacity before the war hit, and the Nazis decided to try to plunder the rest of the world and decided to do some benevolent things that are unspeakable and stuff like that. But that, and so, well, we won't get into World War II, so that's a whole other story. So yeah, I think it's interesting that they're not going to let them enter. I probably could read to you some of Mario's thoughts. Alright, Race Car News 365. Mario Andretti issues response to F1 team rejection following the news that Andretti Global's bid to enter F1 in the near future has been rejected. Disappointing Mario. Andretti has been taken to social media to his display. Mario Andretti, well, here's the article. It says that he's devastated that they rejected him and his son's team. He was and he says he went Wednesday evening to voice his satisfaction. It's obviously spearheaded by Michael Andretti. Mike actually did compete in Formula One year with McLaren. He didn't do so well. I think it was because, well, an IndyCar guy was racing over an F1, and a Formula One guy, Nigel Mansell, was racing over an IndyCar in '93. Mansell obviously won the world championship with the cars on the ovals, no less, because the road course is not so much, but ovals kind of cool. But then again, Mansell could drive, so. Taking tags, Mario Andretti says in a short message, "I'm devastated. I won't say anything else because I can't find other words besides devastated." That's kind of short. I'm pretty sure he would love to say many words, but I think as a kind of a old school and a champion, I think he kind of sits there and he goes, "Yeah, I don't think he can." He's, the Andretti name is such a big thing. I think what Mike and Mara thought this was going to be a shoe-in because the Andretti name was big, and they actually had. And what's funny is they actually have. They even have a Formula One world champion actually employed on their sports car team. Jenson Button actually ran the ARX06 turbo hybrid at the Rolex 24. Got a podium actually with the number the number 40 car. The number 10 car crashed out, and they were looking strong too. So I don't know. It's everyone's given its. I think they were saying, we don't, based on your bid and your assets, we don't think you're going to be competitive. Andretti, and the Andretti name is a huge name, and Mario would be able to give him so much insight on a run, how to be there. He'd be a great ambassador. It'd be great to see him in the Formula One paddock, but not seeing Andretti on the Andretti Global in the especially since they're with Wayne Taylor Racing and stuff like that, they have access to some really good people, and it's just a pain to see that they got rejected. So I think what they're looking at is they're kind of looking at just how he's managing his stuff. I think they're worried that he's not going to be able to. I don't want to dump on Formula One at all because there's been plenty of Formula One champions that have come over to IndyCar and have done very well. Mario Andretti, Juan Pablo Montoya, Roman Grosjean's come over, Marcus Ericsson's come over, Felipe Nasr, I believe, has come over. He's competed. There's a bunch of guys that have gone over there, so it's. I don't want to dump on Formula One because dumping Formula One, but I can feel they had to open up grid slots for 2 more cars, and the other thing is they're like, do you really think you're going to be able to be at the front with Cadillac? It's going to take you a couple of years to actually be competitive, and Mike's not going to spend the money unless he Mike's not going to be able to spend the money unless he. I mean, he has probably set aside, but he's not going to have enough money to. But he's not going to use any money to develop a chassis or whatnot, because it would take him. I don't think he'd be on the grid. If he did get the bid, he wouldn't be on the grid next year. He'd probably be on the grid in 26. He'd have a better idea because the cars, I think, are changing in 26, and the motors, I think, are changing a little bit in 26 and stuff like that. So, and maybe certain engine manufacturers will have a chance to win because Red Bull no longer has its dominant powertrain. And I'm hoping to dear God that Ferrari, McLaren, I don't care who it is, Ferrari, McLaren, and Mercedes, or maybe some off-known team, maybe Aston Martin will, maybe Aston Martin Cognizant Racing will do it. But I hope for some odd reason they just knock Red Bull off just one season, and then just Red Bull and everybody else could trail the championship. But I'm pretty sure it's never gonna happen unless Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes figure it out. But but I'm hoping it's unrealistic. But I'm hoping it happens this year, because I'm getting sick and tired of hearing every race of like, I'm sick and tired of like, oh, I'm going to do a pit stop, I'm going to do put on 4 tires and just drive away. It's boring. I don't like F1. It's boring at the moment. It's nice to have a yardstick, but somebody needs to compete with them. Ferrari had a chance back in 2022, and they did, and then they fell apart. And then eventually he ran away with the championship. I'm hoping it's a well-contested championship and stuff like that, but and the Andretti's would have added to that, and then Mario wanted to add it to the family legacy of having his kid enter Formula One, and I think there's a bunch of people in the F1 paddock that are like, oh yeah, Mike, he's like, yeah, Mike's trying to come back, and he's trying to rekindle his passion for the sport, and he's trying to come in this and trying to do that. And he says, oh, the Yanks, they can't drive a car. They can only drive a car they only can drive their cars on ovals, and their cars are handled and they're too slow. We don't know. Formula One, it may be political, but I'm pretty sure Formula One has their opinion, and they have their doubts. But I think I think it's a bad idea. I think they should reconsider. I would definitely love to see the Andretti's back in. Andretti's back, and it's not like they haven't haven't achieved anything, because they won sports car races, they've won IndyCar races, they've come close to winning. They've come close to winning the Indy 500 a couple of times, and it's like, and it's not like it's not like he hasn't won any championship or anything. He's a well-known name, and he's just along the lines of Bobby Rahal. He won. He's done sports cars. He's done open wheel, and he's done prototypes. He's done GTs. He's done everything. So, Andretti, has a lot of money kind of tied into. The other thing is, I think they're looking at the IndyCar program. They're like, he hasn't won anything in the last couple. He hasn't won in the last couple of years. He hasn't done this. He's won a couple races here and there, but he really hasn't really done much. And they're like, he can't even win. And they probably sat there and they said, oh, your team, your guys, they haven't won a championship. Yada yada yada. You won your championship, but that was about $1 billion years ago, and stuff like that. that was about 1 billion years ago and stuff like that. A billion years ago, and they're like, did he win a championship actually? They probably there's a bunch of factors, but it's just kind of a kick in the face. F1 has highlighted is open to consider the bid for is a power unit manufacturer with Andretti. Yeah, I think that was the reason. The damning reasons why they I can talk to you guys all night if I wanted to. Everyone's decisions in, Andretti is not approved for 25 or 26 reason behind the outcome. And 11th admitted diluting the end of the year prize fund. Really? And then commercial rights holders have always been different. Protect for mid-media that rejected whose values have rocketed current values of the teams. Oh, yeah, and then there's that anti-delusion B, which is $200 million, which is bogus. Oh, it's because he doesn't have an engine, and he would enter in 25. He would enter in 25, and he would go 26, 27, and most of the engine teams have to. I kind of understand why they don't want to, and then because what they're fearing is that the teams, the engine that they run with, might be fearful that they might gain an advantage of knowing how those power units work. And since majority of the field runs on Mercedes power, or Honda Red Bull power, a lot of people are kind of remiss of giving them the motor, even though they could probably sign with somebody like Renault E-Tech, but I don't think they're going to do that because Renault engines. And Mike doesn't want to waste his money, obviously, being at the back of the field all day long. General Motors says that they won't be until 2028, and he's thinking of entering in 26 and entering in 26. And I can kind of see where, and teams aren't going to give him an engine for 25 because aren't going to give him a new engine for 20. Aren't going to give him an engine because the engine regulations are going to change in 25, and 26. They're in their first year. They're putting out their plans, and I don't think any of the teams are. I don't think Mercedes, Ferrari, or Ford, for that matter, who's going to be powering Red Bull, are going to give away an engine for 2 years, and potentially give away secrets to Ferrari, even though the Cadillac engine is technically going to be badged or something. I don't know. Badge is something else, but it's like it's tough. But yeah, I think it's bogus. I think it's because if he entered like in 2021, or if he entered in 2020 and 2019 or 2020, he might have been able to do that, but I think Andretti was spouting out about that he couldn't have done it in 2019 or 2020 because the pandemic would have ruined the pandemic would have ruined those chances, and none of the teams had money, and it's just things were all up there. And plus he was still running, and plus he's he was doing whatever. So he's kind of hit these guys. So he's kind of hit one up for this deal. They're like, hey, he's like been like, hey, can I enter in Formula One? But I want to use a customer engine, and certain teams will only give away certain engines. Honda will be coming back, but they will be coming with a different manufacturer, possibly Aston Martin or Red Bull, not Red Bull, Aston Martin or McLaren. But I think Red Bull will I think McLaren will not take back Honda unless they're stupid and they take Honda back. But I don't know. They might keep. They're going to keep Mercedes powertrains at the moment because they seem to be doing well. But yeah, he's probably going to try again in his bid in 25, and then go for the process and kind of go to the process. It's either that or he pressures. General Motors to develop the engine 2 years early, and I think they're going to need more than 2 years to do that. I think they started working. They haven't. They said that they're not going to start. They're probably going to start work. Probably, if they do make an engine, they're probably going to do in 28, and they're kind of. I don't know. They're kind of up in arms, and I don't think it's kind of weird. So I think there's a money value, and plus there's money involved. Plus they have the anti-dissolution fee, which is bogus, but you got to pay to play, obviously. And if he is backing from General Motors, which he already does, General Motors is like, yeah, we'll go in with you with Cadillac, and you're the only one we're going to run with anyway, even though you were Honda at. It's either that or in 26 he decides to get Honda instead. He might run with Honda, but then again he's he might not get the product he wants, and he already has General Motors on the table anyway. So he's probably gonna go for a bid in 25, and then 25, 26. But we're probably not going to see an Andretti. We could possibly see if he decides to go with Honda. Honda's like, and Honda sits there and tells him like, don't give away any of our stuff and all this other stuff because there's contract agreements, and then you got to break out of that contract agreement, and you sign a lot of money, and you're part of the development of that. So he's got this. He's been in there in a time. That's the other thing. A lot of the teams are established and they already have plans already. He's thinking of encroaching on one engine and then saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to develop our engine. We're going to learn our thing." It's not like sports car racing where they can take if they were in if they were in sports car racing and they wanted to learn how to run. They wanted to use a chassis that they were going to run in hypercar. They run it in LMP2, and they would need to get the way of the land, see how the paddock is, and all this other stuff. It's not as easy as jumping into a sports car race or a sports car season because it's a lot harder. And even the FIA World Endurance Championship is hard, and Roger Penske kind of had to figure those hurdles out, but the captain, the boss, the chief, the head honcho of Porsche Penske Racing, and Penske Racing in general, he's Team Penske is his own thing, and his own legend. So I think the F1 teams are kind of the aristocracy. The aristocracy in Formula One is like, yeah. So he's coming in it. So he should have been. So he should have come in maybe in 22 and started talking. 22 and started talking about this, and then 23, and then he might have actually gotten in there, but I think he's. I don't know. Maybe he was thinking maybe I don't know. I'll grab the investment of the next car, and I'll do this and I'll do that. It's not as easy as that. It takes millions of dollars, millions and millions and millions of dollars to get in. Plus, he has to pay this and pay that. It's to run an F1. It's to run an F1 for a total season. It's quite a lot of money. So and I'm pretty sure they don't want to be giving Andretti a crutch. So just to sit there and go, and they're sitting there like, it's not like you're in car. And I bet you the people in the FIA council are just basically, "Oh, Mr. Andretti, this is not like the kart days where you could lease the engine for the whole season and dump it at the end of the year if you don't like it for 1 or 2 years and dump it at the end of 2 years if you don't like it. You have to stick with them." And I bet you that they were sitting there going, they're like, "Oh, yeah, I'm like, these bloody Yanks, they don't know how to race. They think this is like an Indy car where you can just lease your engines and have your engine deal for a couple of seasons and then just do it." I mean, he sits, and Formula One was probably sitting there like, yeah. They're probably like, "Oh yeah, he's been with Honda for all these years. Why would he decide to not be with Honda and do all that?" And so they're probably like why did you go with Honda? But I bet you he wanted to go with Cadillac because Honda's already done, and Honda's only going to support a couple of teams anyway. So because I don't think Honda was be spending millions of dollars, and even if Honda enters, But yeah, I think it's a pain in the neck. I think it's I think they're somewhat right. I think they should let him in, but he's got to plan his game a little bit better. I think um, he had to plan his game a little bit better. I think he was trying to do this so he could get the green light for 26, so he could build a new car, and then have an interim engine, and then kind of broker a deal with this and stuff like that. I think that's what kind of caused the consternation. And then obviously it's all about money and prize money and the anti-collusion, because the reason why they have the anti-dilution, I'm probably thinking you're bringing $200 million and you have to pay that to the 10 other teams that have already been established on the grid, and that goes towards their budgets because now they need to spend more to compete with another team, and obviously you run. And there's obviously a prize money with and there's obviously prize money. I'm like, you'll get that diluted and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure Andretti will be able to pay $200 million. I'm pretty sure he'll be backing from General Motors anyway. So General Motors, I'm pretty sure they'll be able to help him pay that fee. So I mean, they're a multi-billion-dollar company. I'm hoping they have that much money. So yeah, I mean he needs manufacturers. I mean, the only way he's going to get in is if he has solid manufacturer support, and I'm pretty sure General Motors is going to sit there and go, yeah, we'll back you, but we can't back you until 28. It's a long time, and as I said, it takes years. It takes 2-3 years to develop the motor and develop the parts, and they still have to get it green lighted. So General Motors might have already gotten this green lighted, and Andretti can't even do it. So, and they would have to start developing the engine this year or next year if they wanted to be on the grid for 2028. So, I don't know. I'm hoping. Everyone has said, yeah, why don't you come back to us when you've rethought your decision. I think they're just going to sit there and go, I think what Mike's going to end up, somebody's going to end up telling Mike to do is like, scrap Cadillac, let's see if we can get a deal with Honda. So at least now he has the chance to do a bid next year, and then do a bid later this year or early next year, and quite possibly get a go-ahead for that. And because he would have to get a go-ahead by next year at the latest if he wanted to get on by the end of this year or the early next year if he wanted to get a bid on the grid. And maybe they're trying to say, hey, your engine's not ready. We're not going to give you the bid. Do this, do that. Like, get your team ready and stuff like that. Like, show us a little bit more. I bet you he is already ready. Mario has every right to be devastated, because I'm pretty sure with General Motors backing and a bunch of other funding, I bet you any money he could probably pull this off. He's definitely, he runs sports cars, he runs this, he has deals with Wayne Taylor and stuff like that. So, but yeah. And it is 38 minutes. I didn't think I was going to be here I wanted to be here for 10, but I'm really here for 38. So, I'm going to upload this now so you guys can watch this, and I will see you for the vlog tomorrow, and welcome you guys into February, I guess. Good night. Good night, everybody. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. And remember, people, don't fear the Reaper.